Raise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first item on our agenda is the Employee of the Month. We are actually going to skip that for right now and go on to item number 2, the approval of minutes. Do we have any changes?
I saw no corrections.
I have none either, so
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item number 3 is the Carbon County Soccer Field Eagle Scout Project. Mr. Luke Brady.
Hi, I'm Luke Brady. So I'm 14 and my parents are Tracy and Matt Brady. I was invited to this meeting to further explain what my Eagle Scout project was. So I planted trees at the fairground soccer fields, and my intentions for this project were to kind of like provide shade for the people watching the games and to beautify the fields. So this project first started out, I got the idea and I didn't really know how I was gonna plant these trees. So I remember I mentioned it to my uncle, and he actually worked, he was working with this company called Ivory Homes, and he got me in contact with the boss of Ivory Homes, and he put me in contact with this organization called treeutah.org, and they're actually donating trees just to people, I guess. And then I went to Tony Martinez, and he basically approved my idea to plant trees at the fairground soccer fields. I went and worked with Amy May from treeutah.org and Steve Price from UC Eastern. They helped me find the best tree for the fairgrounds fields. I also worked with Henry Critchbaum, who helped me find the electrical wiring and the water pipes in the field so we wouldn't break pipes when we planted. And so I set the date May 25th at 5:30 p.m. That's when we were going to start planting the trees, and I ended up planting 31 trees, and a total of like around 75 people came and helped us plant trees. Yeah.
And it looks fantastic out there. If you guys have not seen it yet, the soccer fields we've gotten a lot of compliments on, but go out there and check out these trees. It's going to be very, very nice. So you guys have any questions for this young man? And he did a good job of explaining the project.
My question for you is, what did you learn through the process of organizing and doing this event?
I learned how to organize an event. I learned how to communicate with people, and I also learned how to like get volunteers to come help me with an event.
Very good, thank you.
I don't have a question, just thanks for planting the trees. In the future, it's going to be amazing out there with the trees, and congratulations on your Eagle Scout project.
Yeah, thank you. I also want to thank Tony Martinez, Ivory Homes, treeutah.org, and basically all the volunteers who came and helped us plant.
Well, and I want to give you a little bit of credit as well, Luke. As you found out, and you know that these trees need a lot of water when they're first planted. And how many 5-gallon buckets per tree were you putting in at first?
So, wait.
Was it 3? Were you having to put 15 gallons of water per tree when you first planted them?
Yeah, and now we have to do 5 gallons per tree.
And that's every
3 days.
3 days a week. And
Yeah.
who's carrying that 5-gallon bucket to all those 31 trees?
Me.
So the young man is dedicated, and he's really followed through on this project. So appreciate you Luke, for what you've done on that.
You're
So,
welcome.
anything else?
No.
We could make you stand up here for a while.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Luke. Appreciate it. We'll go back to item number 2, or excuse me, item number 1. We'll have Rose Barnes come up.
Commissioners, we actually have Department of the Month this month instead of Employee of the Month, and it's our animal shelter. And they do a phenomenal job out there, and as you guys know, I'm going to let both you and Commissioner Jensen talk about, because you had someone from the public come and talk to you about this wonderful department.
Yeah, we did. It's interesting, a lot of the times we get folks showing up that want to complain about this or that, but this occasion, Commissioner Jensen and I had a lady come in and wanted to talk to us about the animal shelter. So first instinct was, okay, what's the problem? But as she clearly made clear very first, was that she wanted to compliment the animal shelter. She had worked in one before. She was out there and saw how clean this facility was, how organized it was, and had nothing but compliments for the way she was treated, the humane way that she saw that animals were being taken care of. So very, very complimentary.
Yeah, I don't know what to add other than that. I don't remember her name.
Yeah.
I should have brought some notes I took during the meeting. But thank you to the animal shelter staff, and to Dave Brewer and the sheriff, you guys that are in the trenches out there taking care of those animals. It's a comforting feeling to a lot of folks in the community, knowing that you're compassionate with those animals, and it goes a long ways in a good image for the county. So thank you.
So I'm going to ask Dave to come up, and he can introduce his staff as well as the sheriff. And it starts from the top down. Dave's been over the animal shelter for how long now, Sheriff? About 3 years. He's done a phenomenal job. So, just, it's incredible what they have done. And I've said before, we've had recognitions in the past about animals, that people are very, like you said, very passionate about their animals. They might kill you about their animals. So, they handle it very well, and it's a very minimal staff, but they do an amazing job. So I'm going to congratulate you and let the sheriff talk, and then invite the other employees to come up.
Thanks, Rose. I apologize for being late. I'd like to tell you I was helping someone cross the street or do volunteer work, but I was reminded real fast that I'm late. But I appreciate the recognition. These two here, I owe all to them. They're the ones that make the rest of us look good. And it is short staff right now. That's the only two. So they're doing a pretty good job for what we're limited to. So I got to give all the credit to them.
So I would agree with what Dave said. Our staff out there is amazing. They work hard. They're there on holidays when everyone else is off. They're there because they feed the animals and take care of the stuff. I would say Sergeant Brewer is probably the most multitasked individual from the sheriff's office. He's over detectives, he's over animal control, and any and everything else that comes along. And he's done an excellent. He was out mowing lawns out there the other day. So he's done an excellent job, but also the staff is amazing. And, Ed and I go way back, and we don't know about young Dana. She's here for a while. We're hoping she stays for a long time. So, but anyway, I just want to say thanks to everybody.
Thank you, guys.
I put 30 years in law enforcement. Difference between law enforcement and animal control: the dogs don't talk back to you. They don't shoot at you.
It's a good trade then, huh? Yeah. Well, thank you, guys. We're very appreciative.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to item number 4. Consideration and possible approval of Four Corners Behavioral Health Fiscal Year 2022 Area Plan.
I
I am one of those citizens that's appreciative of being kind to animals, so that is very reassuring for me to hear. Good afternoon. I'm Melissa Huntington. I'm the Executive Director for Four Corners, and I'm here to present the fiscal year 2022 area plan to this commission meeting for signatures in Carbon County, as is outlined in our interlocal agreement. Just to remind you of what the area plan is it's basically our largest grant, our block grant that we get through the Division of Substance Abuse and Mental Health, that essentially outlines the plans and commitments that we make to the communities we serve for mental health and substance use disorder treatment. And this plan is presented to our board before bringing it to the commission meetings, who go through it and vet it and approve it prior to coming here. And now Commissioner Jensen has had an opportunity to look over this a couple of weeks ago, and hopefully you all received copies of the area plan. It's a little long, so so if you didn't read it word for word, I'm not offended. But we are just here for answer questions and get signatures for that.
Okay. Do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions. So Melissa Huntington is the new director. Karen Dolan retired. Sorta. She still works there.
She's kind of, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just impressed with Melissa, and through the couple of years I've served on the board. Four Corners treats the most vulnerable population in our county, and they do it with dignity and an awful lot of personal effort on their parts to help these folks. And I think it's pretty common for us who may have family members who have problems with addiction or with mental illness to expect you guys can fix them.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. We can help them, but you respond to all of the different agencies in a really polite and good way, even at the hospital and with the law enforcement, and you get stuck kind of in the middle of all of it. So I just take my hat off to you, and I have no questions about the area plan. I think they work diligently to put a good plan together, and they follow it. The audits that are done both financially and for the operations always come back with no problems. So you have a great staff and great employees. So
Thank you so much, Commissioner.
Well, thank you. It's good that we have that service in this area. I think sometimes people take that for granted. So appreciate it, and thank you for what you're doing to try to make things better here.
Thank you. We have amazing, dedicated staff who are extremely passionate in this field, and the work that is done in this field is not for everyone, but the staff who we have definitely commit their lives to this work and enter into this work with their whole hearts and souls. So we're really lucky. We have very, very good staff, and it is tough work.
Well, thank you for all that you do. With that, I'll make a motion that we approve the Four Corners Behavioral Health Fiscal Year 2022 area plan.
And I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any further conversation? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I gave the signature form to Commissioner Jensen. Should I come grab it from you?
Sure.
Come grab it.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yes, for sure. It is. Do you want me to? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Melissa.
Item number 5, review and possible approval of the Carbon County Tax Advisory Board event and enhancement guidelines and application. Tina Henry.
Hello, Commissioners. So we meaning tourism and the Tax Advisory Board, seen a need to revamp and rewrite our guidelines and update our application for our current co-op funding that is available. And before we had 2 separate guidelines. guidelines for events, guidelines for tourism enhancement, and separate applications as well. So we kind of took those and combined those, or I took them and combined them and then presented them to the board for feedback or any other recommendations. So we kind of kept that open for our tax advisory board to, to give their input on. And so then we came to our final stages after their input, and we submitted it to our legal department, who overseen that and made any corrections, and then provided a final. So if the main goal of this funding that we provide through the tourism budget is to increase revenues in both transient room and restaurant taxes. And so this is for any city, town, community, business group, community organization, or nonprofit organization that's applying for funding for an event or a tourism enhancement project. And you all have copies of those. Do you have any questions?
I see that there's award totals or award maximums. Has the previous form, did it also have maximums as well? Or
It did not.
This is something that you've
This is something
implemented now with this form?
Mm-hmm. And and this will probably more go for next year, because we're out of event funding for the year and we have a very small amount left over for tourism enhancement. But I like that we've added a scoring system for the board, so when they are scoring event applications or scoring tourism enhancement projects, it better helps us to make decisions on that funding. So.
Great.
I have no questions. I'll make the motion that we approve the Carbon County Tax Advisory Board event and enhancement guidelines and application.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
And it looks
Okay.
like I'll come back up in a minute.
You can just stay right there. Let me read this real fast. Review and possible approval of event funding for East Carbon Recreation Project. Tina Henry.
Item number 6. So this goes in line with the funding that is offered through our office. This is a tourism enhancement project. Donald McCarty with East Carbon Recreation attended our Carbon County Tax Advisory Board meeting and was there to answer any questions. This project, they requested an amount of $500 to help with signage. And it was for the Range Creek campground and adjacent site area. Their goal is to build the campground and surrounding area in an ATV base camp for activities on Bruin Point, Dry Canyon, West Havapoots, Range Creek, Horse Canyon, Turtle Canyon, and Little Park. They've experienced a steady growth in the use of the facilities, including the annual Overland Skills Camp that's hosted by Expedition Utah. They planned a community cleanup of that campground area, which took place the weekend before Memorial, so it could be up and ready. And so, yeah, the $500 was to use towards signage, and the Tax Advisory Board recommended that we do fund that project. They felt it was a good project to fund, and normally our chair, Lenise Peterman, would be here before the commission, but she's absent, so I'm in her place today.
This campground, is it the one right next to the Coke ovens?
Yes.
Okay.
One thing I would like to say is Donald McCarty does work for Bodek, so I want to recuse myself of anything here, as we always do, just to be clear on that. So even though your board decided what to do, and I just think that's the proper thing to do.
I didn't even know that, so thank you, Commissioner.
So any further discussion on this?
I think this, and I want to thank the Tourism Tax Advisory Board and Rita and Tina for the work that they've been doing. They've really taken this vision of putting in infrastructure that will improve tourism experience and enhancement projects to the next level, to be able to help people find the places they're looking for, be able to recreate better here in our community. And this falls in line with that. So I'd make a motion that we approve the recreation funding for East Carbon, for the East Carbon Recreation Project.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Or Tina.
Item number 7, consideration and possible adoption of our ordinance 546, a change to the Carbon County zoning map from watershed to mountain range on parcels 5A-77-2 and 2A-77-3, located west of Schofield Reservoir.
Maybe I could take this one. Todd Thorne is tied up this evening and couldn't make it, but this is a addition to the Schofield
Aspen
Cove subdivision, and they came into the Planning Commission in their last meeting and presented to them the need for some continued development adjacent to the existing cabin homes up there, and it would require the change of the zoning that's in there now. So the area in general is called watershed, and in order to build homes on it, it needs to be changed to the mountain range. So the Planning Commission recommends to us that change occur, and I would, if there's no discussion on it, any questions, I'd make the motion that we approve Ordinance 546, change the Carbon County zoning map from watershed to mountain range on parcels 2A-77-2 and 2A-77-3, located west of Schofield Reservoir.
I'll second that motion.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 8, consideration and possible approval of amendment number 2 to the engineering agreement for the snow removal equipment building. Casey?
Commissioners, we went through the process of, if I understand this correctly, and Christian can help me, but of getting an engineer to design the snow removal building. Now that the bid was sent out and we received bids back, this is for the construction. The amendment is the construction management side of that contract. So they've already designed the building, and that was part A. This will be for the management side of that. So unless there's questions.
I don't have any.
Is that correct, Christian? Okay. I'll make a motion to approve amendment number 2 to the engineering agreement for the snow removal equipment building.
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 9, consideration and possible approval of the contract between Broderick and Henderson Construction for the airport improvement project.
I'll take this one as well. We gave a notice of award to Broderick and Henderson in our last meeting so that they could order materials. This is just the construction agreement. It has the bond documents and other documents in there, guarantees that they'll do the work. So this is just our agreement with the contractor.
Do we want to just recap too about this project and where the money came from and what the project is real?
Yep, we can do that. So every year we receive funding from the FAA. It's an entitlement money that they give us to make improvements on our airport. And so for the last couple of years, we've actually allocated money to other airports. It's kind of a loaning program where we loan our money to another airport so they can do a larger project. And then on the off years, we get the money back, their money, and we do a larger project. And so we've banked up some money, and there's a match. Most years. This year there was not a local government match, except the size of the building that we have was just a little bit, it was 200 and some square feet over the size that they'll allow for a snow removal equipment building. So we're paying for that. And we needed that extra size just to fit the equipment that was purchased for removal of snow at our airport. And so that's where the funding comes from, is from FAA grants.
Okay, perfect. Appreciate that. So,
No questions. I'll make the motion that we approve the contract agreement with Broderick and Henderson Construction for the airport improvement project.
I'll second that.
a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 10, consideration and possible approval of a memorandum of understanding for the operations of the USU Prehistoric Museum Visitor Center.
Commissioners, I can take this one as well. We've been working with Price City as well as USU Eastern to try and house our visitor center back in the museum. We think that's the best place, and that's where the majority of the visitors will go. It will benefit Price City. I think it will benefit the community as a whole, and the museum will also benefit from more visitors that will be driven there to find out information. This agreement allows for Price City and the county to pay in a little bit for a staff member that would be there to answer information as people come in, and it will also allow for some displays and some rack cards and different things to be in that atrium when you first walk in. Rita, do you have anything else to add to that?
Where's the funding coming from? Is this coming out of the tourism dollars, our contribution?
Yeah, so we'll take it from TRT. So Visitor Center is an allowed expense to use TRT funding for. So basically the Visitor Center is here currently in the administration building. Prior to budget cuts, we used to have a visitor center employee that's what they did was man the visitor center. So currently it's in the planning and zoning office where Tina and I's offices are located as well. So the planning and zoning department tries to help with those visitors too, but if they're busy or if we're not, we're out in conferences or meetings or whatever, the visitor center isn't being staffed. So we felt like this was a good solution when we were approached by Price City and USU to help fill that need, and with the museum employee there, when the visitor center employee isn't there, the museum employee would fill in with part of that responsibilities as well. They average 20 to 30,000 visitors a year at the visitor center, so we felt like that would be beneficial for the visitor center to be there to take advantage of that traffic as well. So.
The other thing that this will add is it will add some visitor center open hours during the weekend, as this building is closed during Saturdays and Sundays. The museum is open during the weekend, so this will allow those, when we're most likely to have visitors, it will allow an opportunity for them to come into a visitor center and gather information to what they might want to go look at and see.
And we would provide training. I always say you haven't seen a visitor center greeting until you've seen Tina greet in a visitor center. So we would have her work with them and train that person and the museum staff to kind of really understand the visitor experience and kind of a best tips and tricks. And we will have the brochures and all of that we have here. There we would have some video assets that we've been working on that would play on a monitor that would be there as well at some point. So just working on improving that visitor experience, and yes, and offering the opportunity for them to be there on Saturday and Sunday. Currently they're only open on Saturday, but they do plan to expand to be open on Sunday to help greet those visitors that we have coming in.
But even if it were just Saturdays, it's a definite increase from what we are now.
Yes.
So.
And I think the plan too is to put some good signage out so it's real obvious that that's where visitors can stop to get some information.
Yeah, we would have it linked on our website. We would have signage there. We're working with Price City. They'll have something out more by the road. We would have something on the museum that would clearly define that as a visitor center. We have a listing on Google. That's the Carbon County Visitor Center. We would have that changed to that address. We can also use TRT funding to help advertise where that visitor center is. So we would have that available too. There's a lot of things that we would have to help with directing people there. We talked about having like maybe political size signs that says visitor center, official visitor center coming up or something like that. So we have some ideas that we've worked with Price City to make sure that everybody knows. The parking there's great. They have the electric car charging station that is there now. The Peace Gardens is around the corner. So it just makes sense for that to be kind of there, and hoping that with talking with Tim Riley, their goal in the museum is they get visitors there, that they will push them down into Main Street and say, you know, just around the corner you can come and there's a coffee shop, there's some restaurants, you should go visit those. And so trying to help some of push some of the traffic into those businesses there on our Main Street.
Great, thank you.
One of the things that was pretty interesting is that the university who would employ the people that would staff this, they've indicated that they would use students who are doing, I don't know the right term, but advanced degrees.
A graduate student.
Graduate student. And that would be a place where they could do some studying as well as help those that come in. But it would give someone present at the desk most of the time. Mm-hmm. So that's a real win for all of us.
Yeah.
They would want them there, especially during the busy times. I mean, if you're in the visitor center here, you know that like the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Thursday, Friday here anyway, are the times that we get most of the visitors coming through to get the information that they're looking for. They would also take a lot of the visitors' calls and send out visitor information as well. So, excuse me.
One thing I'd like to just for clarification is the TRT. We use that all the time, and some folks may not know what that is, but it's the transit room tax that we get off of folks that stay in the area from the hotels.
Yes.
So just want to explain that. So.
Yes, we use that and our TRCC, which is the restaurant tax.
Great. Thank you. Any other discussion on that?
Nope. I'll make a motion.
Okay.
That we approve the memorandum of understanding for operation of the USU Prehistoric Museum Visitor Center.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
And I have a copy of the sign, or a signed copy here, so after the meeting we can.
Okay. Item number 11, consideration and possible approval of the amendment to the solid waste disposal agreement between Carbon County and ECDC Environmental.
Do you want me to take that? Okay. I had a conversation with Gilbert Palacios from ECDC today and explained to him what we were trying to accomplish with the amendment to the contract, and explained to him that it's getting difficult to track the number of the number of increases that have been given to that contract, and we want to just amend the contract to show the new amounts, so that we would just move forward each time with an amendment instead of having to go back and recalculate what percentages were given in what years. And he was okay with that. They'll continue to bill us at the potential agreed amount and until we can send them an agreement. And I think that was everything. That's the update. We'll probably have to table this for one more week.
Yeah, I think we need to get our documents together and run them past. Well, they were going to provide us some documents with what they think are the most recent or some recent changes, so we kind of need to look at everything and finalize that into a final document that we have them look at before we approve it, I think.
Yeah. The other thing, there was a question about the host fee, and I did ask about that. The $22 or $22.17, and I don't remember the other tiers. They actually backed off of the 22, put in the host fee, and then it came in at the agreed upon amount. But then as we've gave increases, I think he was saying there was a 4% increase prior to my coming onto the commission, and then there was one a couple years ago that we allowed. So with the host fee plus those, so the host fee was figured into that original amount, and it's not an additional amount on top of it.
What is the host fee?
It's what they charge to be the disposal site, and that's what they use. I think if I remember right, that's what they use as their reclamation bond. I think that's where that money comes from for the reclamation bond.
So I guess after this discussion, do we want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to table it and let Christian work through that a little bit closer and come up with a new agreement.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the item has been tabled. Item number 12, consideration and possible approval of the continued property tax exemption for the Briner Museum.
I'm taking it we've been giving them that in the past, and this is kind of a renewal of that. Is that accurate?
So we presented a list a couple of commission meetings ago. This was one of those businesses that wasn't on that list yet. We were trying to track down the current manager. We finally did. She signed it and turned it in.
Okay.
It's part of that original list.
So it's just a little bit of housekeeping then?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we continue the property tax exemption for the Briner Museum.
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 13, review and possible approval of the May 2021 tax sale. Do we have any questions or comments or concerns on this list?
I guess just for the public's record, there were 9 properties that went for sale. There were 3 no sales, meaning nobody wanted to buy them, and so they were stricken to the county. And there were 6 sales. Anything over the amount that was due is given back to, well, it goes to unclaimed properties, and then the person who owned the home prior can, or if there are any other liens or debtors, creditors to the property, then they can go make claims against whatever's left of the money. So we don't get any more than what the taxes due are at that point. So that's just information.
Yeah, and I could give you the amounts. So we collected $6,283.33 of taxes that were owed to the county through that process. The total amount that was bid was $80,123. One of the parcels that went up for sale had a tax amount due of $604,226, and no one bid on that. So that parcel of property will actually be able to be sold. It's west of town up on the mountain, and there are actually interested parties to purchase that. So the other 2 are possible sales as well.
Okay.
All right, I appreciate that. Any other discussion on this?
No.
If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the May 2021 tax sale.
I'll second it.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 14, consideration and possible approval of an interlocal agreement between Carbon County and Helper City Reinvestment Agency for the Castlegate Community Reinvestment Project Area. Tom Lund.
Hi, thank you for having me here. I want to, I'm Tom Lund, owner of Castlegate RV Park in Helper. We broke ground. We came to Helper in 2012 and decided to build an RV park in about 2016. We found a piece of land that was generating $169 a year for the county, maybe one part-time job for an alfalfa farmer. And we went through a development process and financing, putting in millions of dollars into this project. And the Helper City had committed, excuse me, I'm not a real good speaker, so I do better in my head than in the microphone. Helper City had really wanted a RV park to come into the area. It was part of their master plan. It was part of the county's master plan. When the county amended their plan, it was mentioned again to bring in RV parks. They recognized that it was important. And so we wanted a little bit of help. We knew that we could be successful in the area, but we're entering a new market. It's not like we were entering into Moab or St. George or places that there are already established tourist destinations. So we asked for a little bit of help from the city, from Helper, and I was told the process was that they had to create a community reinvestment agency, which they didn't have in place. They voted to do that prior to our building, prior to our construction, but it took a couple of years before they could get it enacted. And I think it was just a couple months ago, or maybe it was in May, where they've had it enacted, the Community Reinvestment Agency, and they approved our project area and site plan. So after 3 years, we can finally officially approach taxing entities to help with our property tax burden. And the reason we need some help, our first year in business, we did about $100,000 in sales. Our second year, we did about $360,000. And we went from $169 in property tax to the county up to $8,400. Total, it was total property tax between all taxing authorities for all our parcels was just under $1,000, maybe $800. And that jumped to close to 50,000. I think it was 48,000 between real property and personal property. And then for a new business in a new market, it not sustainable. So we are contributing in many other ways to the tax base of both Helper City and Carbon County. We had 23 jobs we created or saved during construction. We have currently 10 employees, 2 of which are full-time, with an average annual payroll of $220,000. One of our full-time employees was homeless in Helper, and I just saw something in him, some potential, and we gave him a job and a chance, and he's now been with us almost a year. In fact, it'll be a year in next week. And he's doing great, and he's not on drugs. He's a very good, he's learned a lot about maintenance. He feels like he has a home and a purpose, and that was very impactful to me to give him that.
Thank you for taking a chance on him.
Thank you. So I've sent to you a list of documents tonight. Have you had a chance to review all of them? Do you have any questions on them? I guess my end, in the nature of just keeping this as short as I can, what I would request is that you were to vote on participating on an interlocal agreement, and then at what level. So I could go through all these documents, but you've had opportunities to read them. Do you have questions on anything?
I don't have any questions, Tom.
I just wanted to make sure, now did Helper, and maybe Rita, you know this, did Helper City actually identify a project area for the RV park?
Yes.
Okay, so basically it's in their court, correct? That they could start initiating this?
And the one thing that is not included in this is the map of the area and also the budget, because each project area has a budget, and I don't think we've seen the project area budget, which kind of dictates at what percentages government entities put in their dollars to the project area.
There's two ways to look at these tax financings. One is the infrastructure budget that we put in. Another is as an incentive to bring a type of development that is desired by the county. So whether, and I do have that, and I guess I didn't send it to.
We have the construction costs.
Yeah, well, you have the infrastructure portion of construction. That was by no means the total construction budget. There was infrastructure hooking up to the electrical grid, hooking up to the water supply, and those budget numbers are in here. Yeah. And in the sewer as well. So to have one campsite, we got to hook up to power, water, sewer, cable, and internet. And I think those were, I have them in here somewhere, but I think they were in the 280,000 range. I think that's the number that I had. And
I think that the difference in this one is that it's already built. So the dollars, we know today what the tax amount is, where on a project that's not been built, it's
all based on projection.
Estimated.
Yeah.
Yeah, so some of that may not fully apply. Rita, what?
I just wanted to see if I could ask a couple questions.
Sure.
Can I come up to my phone?
Yeah.
There?
Yeah, come up here.
So I guess part of my question, and this is definitely different than how we've done them before, is you're asking them to commit to something, but do you have an amount that you want them to commit to? A percentage?
Yes, I would like 75% of the increment of the property tax.
For how long?
For 10 years.
And how much did Helper commit to it?
Helper hasn't yet. I haven't gone in front of them. They wanted me to go in front of the county first and Friday School District, because they've never done this before.
And you're asking 75% from each taxing entity?
Correct.
What will the total increment be that you'll receive if all participate at 75%?
We went from 1,000 to, I don't have that.
Well, the tax amount here looks like it was
43, wasn't it?
42,500 basically. Does that sound right? Based on what you submitted, like
42.6 on real property would be the increment. I had 43.6 on real property and 4,570 on personal property. That would be 48 roughly between real and personal. The increment was approximately 800. So take 800 off of 43.6, and then 75% of that would be the total. So roughly 30,000.
For 10 years, so 300,000 is your ask?
Correct. And we're not asking for anything on sales tax or TRT tax. We have paid or accrued $21,000 in total TRT tax to date. We've accrued $28,000 in sales tax to date. Our customers that are coming into town are spending an average of $550,000 in the community per year. We are paying, we paid $72,000 in utilities to Helper City and Emory Telecom. So there's a lot more that our business is contributing community-wide. The little bit that I'm asking for the county, that's roughly, well, we started at $169 that the county got per year. Now it's at $8,400, which I did an exercise, which I think all you saw was a spreadsheet.
I don't think we saw a spreadsheet. Did you guys? I think that's what we're looking for, is a budget spreadsheet.
This is not a budget spreadsheet, this is a property tax spreadsheet. And when I did budgetary numbers for projections to build the park, budgetary numbers nationally were $145 per campsite per year. In Utah, the average was $162 per campsite per year. And Castlegate RV Park is at $411 per campsite per year, making us the highest taxed RV park in the state, more than Moab, more than Washington County in St. George, and that is killing us.
I want to make one thing clear here. Your entire property is in the city. So the tax increase, so just so people understand,
Correct.
the tax increase did not affect you.
Correct.
It is the city taxes and the county general levy, because I just want people to understand, it wasn't the tax increase that caused your taxes to go up. It was your buildings and the infrastructure that caused the increase in the value of your property.
Correct, but the valuation that Julie did when she was the assessor, we had a conversation. I have nothing against Julie. She had a program or parameters that she had to operate in to create a value. And I didn't agree with it, but I really didn't have any choice in the matter. And I'm trying to meet with Gillen, the new assessor. I've spoken with him once on the phone, and we haven't been able to have a meeting since. But we've got a parcel of land that's in a flood zone. Part of it's in the floodway, and there's a very limited use of that property. RV parks are ideally situated in a flood zone because of the mobile nature of RVs. You can't build our buildings, our main building and our garage is outside of the flood zone. We had to elevate our picnic pavilion to get it out of the 100-year. But every other part of the land is floodway, which you can't touch, and you can't build anything on it. So there's hardly any other use for that property that could be economically viable to generate revenue. Did I answer the question?
So I guess I'm not so, I guess what I would like to get at is more the mechanics of this request. And that's why I wanted to ask, as far as if there's a project area, isn't there two different things, project area and interlocal agreement? Would an interlocal agreement be needed if a project area was already established with Helper?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in essence, I guess what you're coming to ask us, basically, to break it down, is that would we be interested in giving some sort of tax break or a deal to help you operate your facility and keep it going?
To help us get established. And it's not a, I don't know how to word it, but it's not a long-term handout. It's an agreement to help us get established. We are doing great things for both Helper and Carbon County and bringing people and tourism dollars into the area. And I don't think anybody would want to see us fail at this point, but when we're burdened on almost 3 times the national average on tax, and it's not just because of the tax rate, it's probably part of it is valuation, part of it is just being new construction, and the taxing authorities thinks it's worth more. I don't know how to quite to argue that point. I'm still going to pursue that. You guys play a role in it. The county plays a role. Helper City plays a role. Pri-Wide plays a role, and certainly the school board plays a big role. And what you decide to do may or may not. You're not obligated to do anything. I recognize that. It's already built. You don't have to participate. The school board doesn't have to. Helper doesn't have to. Helper made a commitment 3 years ago, but the infrastructure, the Community Reinvestment Agency just wasn't in place to do so. So I couldn't officially come to you to ask for this.
So can I ask just a couple fundamental questions,
Yes.
just so I'm up to speed on it? So there is a Helper City Community Reinvestment Agency in
Now there
existence.
is.
Okay. And have they adopted a project area? Have they adopted your,
Yes, they have.
okay, as an area? They just haven't created a map yet?
I provided a map. It was just
Well, I mean,
the
they,
survey.
okay. I'm just wondering how, I think somebody mentioned they hadn't formally adopted that as a map, though. Is that right?
I haven't seen an official map, which is part of the plan, but
I believe,
There may be one, though. There may be one.
and it may be in another form than a outline of a map.
Yeah,
It may
okay.
be in the form of identifying the property tax parcel numbers. And we have 3 tax parcels, and
Okay. So what I'm just trying to, I think we first have to have an area and then an area plan, right?
The survey resolution, which requires a map and a list.
In order to have the area.
Yes, that's what starts the whole process. And this is not the first step, a survey resolution. So we would want the survey resolution from Helper saying that they initiated the project area.
Okay.
so I have Helper City engaged Adam Long with Smith Hartsvigsen to guide them through the process. He apparently has done many of these interlocal agreements. Are you familiar with him?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
So he has guided me. He has not given me legal advice, but he has guided Helper City, and
Well, that's kind of where I was coming from, because typically it would be the agency itself through their attorney that would bring that to us, is what I would expect to see.
And he specifically said that's not needed, that it's my role
not.
now to come to the taxing authorities. I've been to Pri-Wide, and now I'm here at the commission.
So does he represent the agency?
He did.
Okay.
So you say you've already been to Pri-Wide?
I have.
Did they opt in on any amounts or?
They tabled it because they wanted you guys to see what others did first. But they were receptive. We had good dialogue. They asked a lot of questions. And I believe they will participate at some level, but they didn't want to be the first one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Commissioners, my thought, I would like, Rita and I think it might be beneficial if we talk to Adam and kind of got our legal questions. Tom, I think, has done a really good job explaining the concept and the reasoning behind it. And we were all familiar with, I was here when he got approval and jumped through all the hoops to get bring the park into existence. So I'm familiar with what the park's about and all the efforts you had to make bring it to fruition. But I just want to make sure there's boxes we have to check. And I'd like to go through those boxes, go through a list with Adam and just say, hey, Adam, we want to make sure you've got these things and that everything's in line.
And since Helper City has never done this before, they are relying exclusively on Adam's.
Sure. And we've worked with him in the past, and we've got a good relationship with him. And
at our last city council meeting, or the CRA, that's where it was left, is he told me that I have to now approach the
Sure.
taxing authorities.
And I think we just want to make sure that we have all the T's crossed and the I's dotted. And I think just a little bit of time with him would go a long way.
Sure. And he created the interlocal agreement that...
The template there.
The template. Yeah. He created that. I modified it a little bit just to take out the portion and left blank the length of time, and but it's all his writing. I can even forward you the email that came from him with that information. So
okay.
We had to.
And I've got that template here, and we've seen similar ones. So we just like to kind of see how far Helper City Redevelopment Agency formally got with approving everything. And
the only thing they haven't approved was the actual interlocal agreement. That's how I understand it.
And they wanted to come to us as the taxing entity first to
Correct.
see what we would do before they approved that.
Correct. Well, not that they'd approve it, but to the level of maybe participation.
Okay.
So.
Well, I think we might want to look at things just a little bit. I think I'd like to touch base with Adam. Rita's got a checklist that she spent a lot of time developing, as you know, commissioners, and it's and she knows that checklist better than I do, and it's quite detailed. And it's so I'd like to meet with her, and together we could call Adam and just make sure everything's, just so we know where everything is procedurally. I think we got a pretty good picture, but there are lots of little things we have to make sure we've taken care of.
So, and on a budget, normally, again, these things are addressed prior to development. It's all based on projections and budgets, and now I can provide real hard numbers of what it actually costs. I can give you canceled checks or whatever, which is a benefit to you guys. So I'm not just throwing out numbers that don't have basis behind them.
Well, and typically so we've gone through 3 of these, we're working on our 3rd one now, and typically when we approach the other taxing entities, it's been very helpful for them to understand what that bottom line is going to be, what that dollar amount is going to be. When you ask,
which bottom line, which dollar amount?
So what the 75% that you're asking the county to commit to over 10 years, what number is that going to be?
Well, that would depend upon what my over 10 years, what our tax burden would be. If you can tell me what my property tax bill will be in 9 years, I can give you that.
So personal property will depreciate. So but you're not doing any personal property, right?
I am asking for help on the personal property, yes.
So then we would build that into a budget spreadsheet. So as we've approached the other taxing entities, it's hard for them to give a commitment. Like they would not give a commitment until we had a budget layout that would say over X amount of years, this is what the base value is right here.
I do have that.
Okay, so and then at the end of it, in this spreadsheet that we've built, it says, at the end of 10 years, if you want $300,000 from everyone, what does that break out for each taxing entity over those 10 years?
Sure. And I think you sent me a template of that, and
Yes.
I have filled it out, and I don't remember if I sent it back to you.
I've not seen it.
So I do have that document, and I can email it to anybody who wants to see it.
So as we've worked through these, it's just hard to commit to a 75% until you know what that number is going to be.
Well, on property tax, it would be per year, if it was for the county, 84 based on 2020 was 8,400 was the total tax, going up from 169 to 8,430. 75% would be 6,200 would be the increment, and 2,236 would be the new money that the county would get, and from just real property tax. So you always get the money that was being generated by that property before development, plus you're getting an extra $2,200 per year if the property tax, the real property tax, stayed constant over 10 years. So that would be $22,000 to the county and $62,000 back to us.
Right.
For just real property on the county. And I do have that worksheet filled out. I don't know if it's got all of the depreciation on the personal property tax.
And do you have a project area plan that you've created too?
Yes.
Okay. And you followed all of the statute, the requirements and statute that you have to address?
To my knowledge, under...
But Adam's worked on that one for you? Because Adam knows to follow those. Okay.
Yeah, Adam, I've done every step that Adam told me to do,
Okay.
or you, to my knowledge, to the best of my ability. And I'm sure that you can find something that I didn't dot an I on. I don't know, but I've really tried.
Right. Let me jump in here. I think we certainly are trying to encourage growth, and you built your facility without the ability to participate in the CRA up front. I think intent-wise, I would be in favor of offering a discount. And it's kind of a process that we go through. And I think if you can get us the remaining things that Rita's identified, and we can verify that Helper has gotten to the point where we can legally enter into an agreement with them. You know, I'm speaking for myself in this, but I think that I'd be willing to do something. Now, there's two ways that we would probably look at this in how much we give you. So if I think 75 is high, but if it would help you to take your money, say, in 5 years rather than 10, it would be more attractive to bump that percentage up. And so it kind of boils down to the, you know, in the end, for each of the taxing entities, we look at the dollar amount. It's pretty straightforward with yours because you already know what your tax is. Mm-hmm. The commission has no authority over the value.
Understood.
So, you know, if you can work something out through that process with the assessor and the ability you have to come in and present your case to a third party later this year, then that would adjust the amount of the value. So on our end, I think that for me, I'm willing to commit to doing this after the fact and try to give you a break so you can pull through this and make this work. Long term, it's a value that needs to be in our community. Mm-hmm. And so that's my thought about it. And, you know, I don't think we're prepared tonight to give you a percentage. Sure. To lock it in. But.
And I'm fine answering Christians, give them an opportunity to talk to Adam, and they need to be comfortable with it. In the research I've done, and I've never done an interlocal agreement or a tax financing, so this is my first time, but I've worked on it for 3 years, and I've learned a lot about it, and I've learned that it's different from area to area or town to town. There's no consistent level of participation. Some go for 20 years, some go for 10, some go for 5, some are 100%, some include sales tax, some include TRT tax, some include personal property, some are just real property. That's up to you guys to make that decision. And if we go 100% for 5 years or 75% for 5 years and then tear it down 80, 60, there's no 80, 60, 40, 20 for the next 5 years. There's no magic length of time that says we will be established and sustainable after 10 years to go 75% all the way through and then stop. So the agreements that I've seen are everywhere, and you guys have done some in the past, and
that's the key to this. So we have to balance offers to everybody in light of what's on the table. So for instance, if you were creating a bunch of jobs. In addition to the value of your property, then that would weigh a different weight to us. So yours is unique. It's a standalone project that we have others now that we can kind of compare to in what we've offered them. And I think this is something that we just need to chew on a little bit. And a commitment from me is that I want to try to make this work. It may not stretch out as long as you'd hope, but part of our whole deal here in the county is surviving the closure of the coal mines and the power plants now, and the loss of revenue from mineral lease money from gas and coal.
Tourism will help fill a little bit of that.
A little bit, yes, and we know that, but we also can't give away all of our tax income to businesses that are coming because we don't gain anything. So there's a balance there, and as we represent the citizens of the community, that's what we have to weigh. So we need some time to gnaw on it, and we'll make a decision. And I think that does give Pry-White and the school district and the Water Conservancy District a place to look at, and hopefully they would do what we're going to do. We can't speak for them,
I understand,
nor for Helper, but regardless of what any one of them agree to do, we want to try to help you. So it's a matter of putting all the pieces together. They're complicated even for us.
Sure, I understand.
So, as you come in tonight and you have a request from us to make a final decision, we've never been able to do that with these. So we've had meetings prior, kind of work sessions with the individuals, the companies, to try to figure it out so that we could gain a level of comfort with the deal.
And I want you to be comfortable, and I want you to be confident that our project is significantly contributing.
Well, there's no question.
If I would have come up here 3, 4, 5 years ago and told you we're going to build a beautiful park and we would be bringing 20,000 people a year in, and that we'd win awards nationally and globally, you'd roll your eyes at me, and I'd probably roll my eyes at myself. But we've done that. This year we've gotten TripAdvisor, which is a huge global company. We're ranked in the top 10% in the world. Campendium is a review site. We were listed in the top 35 in the country off of their site. And just today we got recognized as one of the top 6 RV parks in the state of Utah from RV Travel Life. I can't remember the name, but it's a publication. And so we're getting known, we're getting on the map. And when COVID hurt us for a while, then maybe we've gone through a little bit of a COVID elevation, but what's next year going to bring?
Yeah.
We don't know.
Well, and I just want to speak to the same commitment. I've seen what you've gone through, and I want to help. I kind of agree that 50% is closer to what we've helped other companies that have brought in more investment and possibly more jobs. But that doesn't, you know, like you said, they're all over the map.
Yeah.
And we get that. The other thing that's intriguing for me is potentially, if it helps, doing part of a deal on the transient room tax. And the reason I think it's interesting to me is it gives you the incentive to fill your park. The more you fill it, the more money, the more incentive or more money you get in the end, because whatever percentage we would give of the transient room tax back to you is directly tied to how many people stay at your location. And then there's incentive. That provides you an incentive. And I don't know if it works that way in this business because it's dependent on so many other factors.
Every little bit helps, but I'm not going to be necessarily incentivized. It's not going to give me extra motivation to fill a park because I get a % of the TRT. I treat that as a pass-through. I collect it from customers. I pay it to the state. It just comes in, goes out. Property tax is an expense, period. There's nothing I can collect to offset that. It's purely an expense. So,
right, but if the transient room tax would go towards paying your taxes,
sure.
You know, like you said, it can be rolled into the deal, either sales tax, which we can't do because you're in the city.
Right.
Your sales tax goes to them. But the transient room tax would come to us, and we could then remit some of that back to you as part of the incentive.
You get, I think the county gets 0.25% of sales tax, if I recall.
There's probably a little bit, but.
And the county gets, the city, Helper City, gets about 1% of the TRT tax. The county gets the majority of that. Right. I think 4.25 maybe, something like that. Is that right, Rita?
Yeah, so, you know, look, we want your project to be successful. We appreciate what you've done to you know, make it an attraction and helper. It's another thing that just people can do. Personally, I would like to offer an incentive as well. I think it's a good thing. But the terms on it, I would be a little bit more towards the 75% too if we go that for a shorter term for 5 years. And as Casey mentioned, I would also go with possibly 50% on the TRT. Now, it doesn't seem like a lot. However, you know, what is it at 5% now, TRT tax?
5.57.
Yeah, so, you know, half of that. And what do you have, 104, 106?
106, including tent sites.
And so as Casey was saying, if you're getting 100 a night, you know, in the busy times, that does add up. That is significant.
We'll have some monthlies. We are providing spots for people that are working at the Wellington, at the solar farm in Clawson. We've had welders that come in for a few months, and just people that are coming in for the jobs. During COVID, we had some doctors and nurses that would come in for a period of time. And on monthly site rentals, there is anybody that stays 30 days or longer, they don't pay sales or TRT tax. And we try to limit those in the summertime because this is our peak season, but we want to attract more of that in the wintertime for revenue stability.
Sure.
So TRT isn't as robust in the wintertime, and hopefully we'll fill up or get a significant amount of it during the summer.
Yeah, so I guess in essence, basically, you know, personally, I think the board is just saying that, yeah, we're willing to support and work it out. It's just getting through those details.
Sure.
So if that's the signal we need to send, I think that was sent tonight. So I don't know that we want a motion on this or
I
any
don't
more
think
discussion on it.
prepared to.
So the next step would be to wait for Rita and Christian to talk with Adam. Pardon?
I'll put a list of questions.
To Adam?
I'll send it to you now.
Okay, so, I mean, if you guys, it would be probably better, so I don't muck it up, if you just talk to Adam directly and then after that, tell me what I need to do. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and you're probably aware these CRAs that are created, there's two parts that, one is that a housing component by state statute has to be added in, a 10%.
Correct. Adam did explain that.
And then there would be an administration fee for whoever has to help our city to take care of it. And
understand that as well.
So some of these that we've done with Adam, I think we were at 40. We split it. So the 10% was taken off. The administration fee was taken off, and then we split what was left with the individual. So it doesn't end up being a full 50% if we win a 50 or even a 75. There's those fees that would come out. So it adjusts that down a little bit from the raw number.
Go 72.6%.
Something like that.
Yeah. So, you know, we're in this together.
I appreciate that.
You know, really,
and I want to be on a level playing field with other RV parks in our industry. Everybody's got to pay property tax. I'm good with that. I'm not trying to not pay property tax. I want to pay what is consistent in our industry and what's reasonably average in the state of Utah. And we are so far above that. It's ridiculous, and it's
so that's where your homework going into
to Gillen.
What do we call it?
Yeah,
Gillen. Board of Equalization.
Board of Equalization.
Correct.
So that's the place that has to be worked out.
I'll approach that angle too, but if whatever we can, if any, have an impact through that process, that would impact the budget over the period of 10 years. So I can only create a projection based on what I know right now, because it's all projections.
But it's a clear definition of we have to do 10% for housing, we have to do those kinds of things, and a budget clearly defines what those are going to be and how it's going to be.
And I did fill that out, and I did send it to Adam, and that was just one of the hundreds or whatever dozens of documents I've sent, and I didn't present it to you, but that does exist. It is filled out.
And that's okay. We probably wouldn't have been able to make a decision tonight even if you had brought it to us. So we need to chew on it a bit. And so if that's okay with you, we're making a commitment that we want to do this and we want to be fair. So let's work through the rest of the details.
Like 1-2 more weeks, or how long do you think it will take to?
No insult here, Christian, but we are dealing with attorneys, Tom. So
I understand.
It does take
attorneys and government.
Yeah, it does take time.
The quickest process.
One thing that might bring a little bit of peace to your mind is the fact that for the first time in a long time we've actually had new growth in our community. So that helps. It doesn't offset the taxes, but the other thing that is offsetting our taxes is we're seeing a lot of homes being sold in our community, and the values of those homes are going up. So as the values go up, the rates go down. So there's going to be a little bit of a shifting that's happening, and it's just happening naturally because of the economic development that's happened, because of the growth, because people are moving into our community. There are some positive things that are going to lower the tax rates for all of us. You might not see it in big jumps, but it's happening incrementally. And so there is some relief coming just because of the natural growth, and you're part of that because of your coming in and investing in the community and things like that. So thank you.
One of our customers is named Greg Driggs, who came and stayed with us for 6 times, lives in Spanish Fork, And he's got his, he bought a house here, and he's opening a business, a mortgage company in Helper. His son is involved, Kenny Driggs, with the production events. The reason they are here is they came to stay at Castlegate RV Park.
Yeah.
That was their first exposure to Helper. And we're getting people like that they come and visit the area, Carbon County and Helper, and they're buying houses, they're moving here, there's interest that is, and we are becoming a destination. We've got people that have made reservations now for next year. If they came and stayed with us this year, they want to come back. And that takes years to build that up, but we see it working.
Yep.
So it is.
So do we, so.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
There's lots of things hopefully coming very shortly. So appreciate you and your investment. And as the commissioner said, we want to work with you and make this happen. So we'll work out the details.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy.
So do we need a motion on that?
I'll make the motion that we table it for this meeting and do a little more homework. Bring it back when we've got it all ready.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Item has
Thanks.
been tabled. Item number 15, review and possible approval of an interlocal agreement between the Carbon County Redevelopment Agency and Price City for the engineering of a sewer line for Price City.
Commissioners, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think we need to table this because we need to bring it back first as the redevelopment agency and allow for that approval to happen and then bring it back to the commission. So I would make a motion to table.
I'll second it.
Okay, a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The item has been tabled. Can we, Rita, since you're being the assistant, can you put that on the agenda? Got it. Awesome, thank you. Item 16, consideration and possible approval for a Carbon County credit card for Dana Shepard of the Carbon County Animal Shelter. We should have had her stick around for this.
Yeah. I make the motion we approve credit card for Dana Shepard.
I'll second that.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item 17, consideration and possible approval of deferring property taxes for Dennis Morelli, parcel 02-1526-0001.
I might take this one. The paperwork that was given to Dennis 2 weeks ago probably, we need that before we can take action, and he's not been able to get that back to us yet. So I'd make a motion that we table this and wait until he brings the paperwork in and then put it back on the agenda at that point.
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved. This is tabled. Okay.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second it.
We are adjourned.